Imagine just hearing that sudden knock on your door. Officials there telling you you have to leave right now.
Or, seeing pictures of a place that holds decades of your family memories, your happy place,
Yeah.
just gone, turned to ash.
Yeah, for thousands of people across the Canadian prairies and really beyond, right now in late May 2025, that's not some hypothetical. It's the terrifying reality of these wildfires.
And the scale is, well, it's record-breaking for this time of year. Sources on Thursday were saying Canada's battling 866 active fires.
166.
Wow. Yeah, and 84 of those are classified as burning out of control. The worst of it seems concentrated in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta.
Okay, let's get into this. This deep dive is focused squarely on this really intense wildfire situation unfolding right now.
Right.
We've gathered a whole stack of sources reports from Canadian outlets like CBC, Global News, the Star Phoenix, Regina Leader Post, CTV, the Weather Network, Radio Canada.
Plus others like The Guardian and APTN, and even a Manitoba government news release.
So our goal here is to really take all that information and, pull out the crucial insights for you.
Exactly. We want to unpack just the sheer scale of this crisis, understand the human stories, the impact on communities.
And look at the science, right? Why is this happening now with this intensity?
Yeah, and what does it all tell us about sort of navigating a future that, well, likely includes more fires like these, more often, more intense? It's about getting that core understanding.
And the scale you mentioned, it's truly massive. Multiple provinces are under serious threat. Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta are definitely seeing the biggest impacts, according to the sources.
But fires are active elsewhere, too. It's quite widespread.
And to underscore how serious this is, Manitoba declared a province-wide state of emergency. That was Wednesday, May 28th.
And Saskatchewan followed literally the next day, Thursday the 29th.
Declaring a state of emergency initially for, 30 days in Manitoba, 14 in Saskatchewan, that's a huge step.
It really is. It cuts through the usual red tape, gives authorities the power they need to coordinate the response, get resources where they're needed much faster than normal.
It basically signals this is an extraordinary event needing exceptional measures.
And the number of people needing that response, it's just staggering. Over 17,000 people in Manitoba alone are under mandatory evacuation orders.
17,000.
Yeah, including about 6,000 from the city of Flin Flon. Then in Saskatchewan, it's over 4,000 evacuated, with more than 2,000 from Pelican Narrows.
And Alberta, too, right. 900 residents forced out of Chite.
That's right. And think about this, those 17,000 plus in Manitoba. Many are being airlifted out by the Canadian military.
Airlifted. Because the ground routes are just cut off or too dangerous.
Exactly. It just highlights the sheer speed and scale as these things can overwhelm everything. Normal infrastructure, response capabilities,
Right.
they just get swamped.
It shows how fast things can fall apart, especially, I imagine, in more remote areas.
Definitely. We saw a personal account from Brian Ballantyne. He's from Pelican Narrows.
Yeah.
He talked about that persistent knock on the door, being told straight up, you have to come with us, we're evacuating.
Just like that.
Yeah. He said the road wasn't too chaotic when he left, actually, because a lot of people had already gone. But officials were worried, expecting the smoke to shift, making it even more urgent for anyone left.
And for those forced out, it's not just being displaced, is it? It's the loss. The sources describe just terrible devastation. East Trout Lake in Saskatchewan, for instance.
Oh, yeah. A resort subdivision north of Narrow Hills Provincial Park. Reports say fire just swept through on Wednesday, left it largely destroyed.
Largely destroyed. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency confirmed substantial loss there.
And these aren't just buildings, they represent huge emotional losses. Lana Shepard from Indian Head, she shared her story. Her family cabin at East Trout Lake, built way back in 1972.
Oh.
She figures it's gone, called it a place of invaluable memories. Her description was just, heartbreaking. Feeling devastated, saying, nothing left, everything's gone.
God, she said she cried her eyes out, losing her happy place. It brings it home.
It really does. And the destruction, it goes beyond homes. It's hitting critical infrastructure, too.
Right, like SaskTel reporting a wildfire near McLennan Lake damaging their fiber infrastructure.
Yeah, and that's crucial, isn't it? Cutting communications during an emergency, that can seriously hamper evacuations, people trying to call for help, connect with family.
Caused major network congestion, knocked out internet, wireless landline service in several northern communities.
Compounding it, crews can't even get in there to fix it because of the fire threat.
So they're cut off, and communication is down. That's a terrible combination.
It really is. And then you have the road closures, a massive issue, contributing to that feeling communities have of being boxed in.
like Highway 106 near Smeaton, blocked by the Shoe Wildfire, cutting off routes near Prince Albert, and Highway 373 in Manitoba, cutting off Cross Lake.
Yeah, making it physically impossible for people to get out or supplies to get in easily.
And, tragically, these fires have already claimed lives. Sources reported the deaths of Sue and Richard Noel.
Near Lac Dubonnet, Manitoba. They were trapped by a rapidly spreading fire in an area that was unfortunately already under a mandatory evacuation order.
Just awful. It highlights the brutal speed, the danger of these fires.
Which naturally makes you ask, okay, why is this happening now? Why so intense?
And the sources all point to, well, basically a perfect storm of conditions.
That's a good way to put it. Key factors. Hot, dry conditions combined with really strong winds. Gusts expected, 40 to 60 kilometers per hour in some areas?
Yeah, and there wasn't much spring rain, less snow over the winter than usual, so the landscape is just incredibly dry. It's like tinder, primed to burn.
And there's no immediate relief in sight, apparently. A meteorologist with Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, said basically no relief expected in northern Saskatchewan.
Forecasts showing very warm conditions to continue and minimal rain for the next week, maybe even 10 days.
That prolonged dryness is so critical. Sources mentioned about 40% of the prairies were already abnormally dry or in moderate drought through April.
And then came May with this really uncharacteristic heat wave. Temperatures soaring over 30 Celsius, even hitting 38 in parts of Manitoba.
You add the wind to that dry fuel and the heat. And yeah, experts are calling it textbook conditions, the perfect storm for fires to ignite easily and just spread incredibly fast, incredibly intensely.
Right, and this creates what they call extreme fire behavior.
Exactly. We've even seen satellite images capturing pyrocumulus clouds. These are basically fire-generated thunderstorms.
Generated by the fire itself.
Yeah, they show just how intense these fires are, and they can actually transport smoke huge distances, way up into the atmosphere. Shows the raw power we're dealing with.
And ignition sources. While lightning causes a lot of the big fires, especially later in the summer.
Right. But sources are noting that fires this early in the spring window, they're often human-caused.
Things like campfires not put out properly, cigarette butts, maybe sparks from equipment.
Exactly, those kinds of things. One source specifically said the majority of fires in Manitoba this spring were human-caused.
It really underscores how just one small spark in these conditions can lead to such widespread devastation.
Absolutely. So you have the fire itself, which is terrifying.
Yep.
But the impact, it doesn't stop there, does it? The smoke is a huge, far-reaching problem.
Oh, yeah. The smoke from these fires is just blanketing vast areas. Not just the prairies, it's drifting south deep into the U.S.
We're already seeing air quality alerts pop up in places like Minnesota. And forecasts. They predict the smoke will significantly worsen air quality way downstream. Cities like Chicago, Detroit, even Washington, D.C.
Could reach the red category,
Yeah.
which is unhealthy for everyone.
That's the projection. And many people will remember 2023, right? When smoke from Canadian wildfires turned the sky over New York City that eerie orange color.
Yeah, I remember that. And here's a really critical takeaway I saw coming through from the health research and the sources. This wildfire smoke. It's not just annoying or temporary.
No, not at all. Exposure to those fine soot particles, the really tiny ones, they can have serious long-term health impacts.
The sources point to growing research showing exposure can affect your heart, your lungs for months after the smoke seems to have cleared.
That's right. And other studies are linking it to increased risk of stroke, negative impacts on brain function, even interfering with fertility treatment.
It's pretty scary stuff. Experts emphasize there appears to be no safe level of exposure.
And that wildfire smoke can be significantly more toxic than the usual urban air pollution we worry about.
Wow, more toxic.
Yeah. And there's data suggesting thousands of deaths every year now in the U.S. are linked just to smoke exposure, leading to billions in associated costs.
That insight is it's powerful. This isn't just about sore throats or poor visibility. It's a major long-term public health threat that's getting more and more attention.
So the advice from experts is pretty clear.
Yeah.
If you're exposed, wear a fitted N95 mask outdoors. And if you can, use a portable air filtration system, a HEPA filter, indoors.
Practical steps, definitely important. Now, given the scale of this, all the people affected, the properties at risk, the response is obviously critical.
Absolutely. But the sources are also highlighting some real challenges there. Concerns are being raised pretty loudly, particularly by First Nations leaders.
About what specifically?
Critical shortages in firefighting resources, personnel, equipment, air support like water bombers and helicopters.
Grand Chief Hardlot of the Prince Albert Grand Council was quoted saying resources are really depleted across the whole province of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, that feeling of being stretched thin, it's echoed by several First Nations. Lac La Ronge, Peter Ballantyne, Montreal Lake Cree Nations. They declared a joint state of emergency on Wednesday.
It's joint one, okay?
Yeah, citing those resource concerns and also that feeling of being boxed in by the road closures. They're demanding direct meetings with government leaders to sort this out.
And the Saskatchewan opposition had also been calling for a provincial state of emergency in daily briefings earlier in the week, right?
They had, so there's definite pressure on the system. But governments are trying to bring in help. Saskatchewan's Public Safety Agency, the SPSA, is actively requesting crews, equipment, aircraft.
And they've received some support already.
Yes, support's come in from Alaska and Quebec, including crucial water bombers. Manitoba's also received firefighters, an air tanker, sprinkler systems from other provinces and Parks Canada, and they're expecting more.
Still, it's a massive challenge. And tragically, we heard one firefighter has been critically injured in Manitoba fighting these fires.
Yes, a very dangerous job. And it's clearly an undertaking that needs national coordination. Manitoba Premier Canoe formally requested military support from the Prime Minister.
And the Canadian Armed Forces are deploying.
They are, to help with transporting evacuees like we mentioned, and also assisting with firefighting efforts in Manitoba. Sources reported a military plane already landed in Norway House to start ferrying people out.
Alongside that official response, though, we're seeing just incredible community spirit, people stepping up.
Absolutely. Organizations like the Canadian Red Cross are crucial, supporting evacuees in reception centers in places like Saskatoon and Winnipeg.
But also individuals, just regular people helping out.
Totally. Amazing stories. Like Darren Hupture, a strawberry farm owner in Swan River, Manitoba. He just opened up his land for evacuees to park their vehicles, camp out if needed.
Wow.
And in the same town, Greg Ashour owns a car dealership. He moved a bunch of cars off his lot to make space, offered power, water, just said it's the right thing to do.
It's fantastic. Real community resilience there.
And Indigenous-led organizations, too, like Ouija One in Brandon, led by Natasha Marion. They're helping gather donations, organizing entertainment for evacuees, and really importantly, trying to provide culturally appropriate support, including traditional food for displaced community members.
That's so important. It's genuinely heartening to see people looking out for each other in a crisis like this.
It really is. And for the evacuees themselves, the sources stress how important it is to register, online or by phone. Manitoba 211 was mentioned.
Right, that's crucial for officials, for family members, just to keep track of everyone's safety and where they are.
Absolutely vital. Now, looking beyond the immediate crisis, this whole event really forces a crucial conversation about preparation, doesn't it? And the future.
Yeah, the sources kind of reflect this tension between the immediate firefighting response and thinking about long-term readiness.
You see some frustration, like from Lana Shepard, the woman who lost her cabin. She felt more could have been done proactively before the fires hit.
Things like clearing brush, creating fire breaks around communities. She described the government response she saw as mostly reactive.
And Grand Chief Hardlot also emphasized needing readiness and prevention, not just response after the fact.
But then you also hear stories of individuals who did take proactive steps and it worked.
Right, like Trevor Phoenix near Bisnard Lake. His cabin had actually burned down in 2015. He rebuilt it. This time, he went up north with his cousins ahead of the fire, set up sprinklers around the place.
And it worked.
It did. He said the fire came right up to the base of the cabin, but the sprinklers doused it. He felt very fortunate.
That really highlights the importance of that individual preparedness piece, the stuff often called fire smart principles.
Exactly. Experts recommend things like clearing flammable stuff, shrubs, dry leaves from within about 1.5 meters of your house, keeping firewood stacked well away, maybe 10 meters.
And thinking about building materials too, right? Using non-combustible stuff for roofs, siding, fences, stucco, metal, stone, cement, fiberboard, asphalt shingles.
Absolutely. And just having an evacuation plan ready before you need it. Packing emergency kits, knowing your escape routes, making sure your phone works with the emergency alert system.
All sounds like good advice. But one expert, Blair Feltmate, he pointed out a key problem. He said, "We know the solutions. The bad news is we're not getting this information out to homeowners quickly enough. That's the challenge."
That's a crucial point. The knowledge is there, but the communication, the uptake, maybe isn't happening fast enough.
And all of this, it just keeps bringing us back to that bigger picture the sources consistently point towards. The unmistakable link between climate change and these worsening wildfire seasons.
Yeah, the excerpts quoted are pretty unequivocal. Feltmate says, climate change is irreversible. Premier Canoe called the fires a sign of a changing climate.
Another expert, Blair, said there's no doubt wildfire risk is being exacerbated by climate change and warned pretty starkly it's only going to get worse.
The trend seems undeniable, doesn't it? Fire seasons starting earlier, ending later. Forecasters are predicting fire seasons in the prairies, and BC will be well above average for the rest of this spring and summer.
So this isn't just a bad year, a one-off anomaly. It's part of a pattern, an accelerating trend.
That seems to be the consensus from these sources.
Mm-hmm.
And the conclusion is, well, we need multi-pronged solutions. We need to invest way more in prevention and mitigation, like FireSmart.
Improve coordination across all the different fire services.
And fundamentally, we need to, as experts put it, learn to live with fire.
Learn to live with fire. That sounds challenging.
It is. As one expert said, the future is expected to be hot and smoky. We heard about families like the Lees, evacuated near Nopiming Park in Manitoba, already talking about how they need to adapt their lifestyle going forward.
What's really fascinating, though, is hearing that blend of, scientific necessity for adaptation combined with deep traditional knowledge.
Yeah, Grand Chief Hardlot spoke so powerfully about how Northerners feel connected to the land. Their willingness to fight fires isn't just a job. It's got this special purpose.
He said things like, this is our home. These are our trap lines. This is our forest. We were proud to be out there. We can be like that again. It speaks to a different kind of motivation, perhaps.
A deep connection, yeah.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive has really, I think, underscored the immense scale and intensity of these fires, the profound human impact on individuals, on whole communities, especially First Nations, who are so often on the front lines.
And that clear, accelerating link to our changing climate conditions. Plus, the urgent need for both immediate, effective response and that longer-term adaptation.
Understanding all this, the heartbreaking personal stories, the science behind the fire behavior, the health risks from smoke, those underlying climate trends, it gives you a much fuller picture than just the headlines, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really highlights the massive collective challenge we're facing as a society.
And looking ahead to that future that's expected to have more frequent, more intense fires, it leaves us with a pretty challenging question to think about, doesn't it? What does learning to live with fire truly mean for us? Is it just about, individuals fireproofing their homes and having an emergency kit?
Or does it demand something more fundamental, a shift in how we manage landscapes, how we build our communities, how we support the most vulnerable?
And maybe ultimately how we collectively address the climate trends that are driving these devastating events in the first place.
Yeah, definitely something to mull over as, unfortunately, the smoke continues to spread.